Why a Mac advocate hates Apple Music, Google gives away patents, and it's Gattaca on GitHub. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 387 for Thursday, July 23rd, 2015. This episode of Tech News Tonight is brought to you by Wealthfront. Wealthfront is a low-cost automated investment service that is the most sophisticated way for you to invest your money. Whether you've got millions or you're just starting out, visit wealthfront.com/TN2 to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. That's wealthfront.com/TN2. Welcome, I am Megan Maroney. Let's get to today's tech news. Apple's new music streaming service, Apple Music, has been around nearly a month now, and it's fair to say it's been getting some mixed reviews. Some people, myself included, consider it the magical solution to all of my problems and all of the world's problems. And others are frustrated as all get out with its many limitations and confusing interface. Yesterday, Jim Dalrymple, editor-in-chief at Loop Insight, one of the original members of Mac Central and a veteran at Macworld, took to the internet to tell everyone what he really thought of Apple Music. Now, Jim is a music lover and a lover of all things Apple, but yesterday he announced Apple Music is a nightmare and I am done with it. Dalrymple is joining us today to talk about his horrific experience with this app that I love. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks, Megan.
So is this the hardest breakup letter you've ever written?
It was a very difficult breakup letter, yes. Yes, it actually is hard because I've purchased so much music on iTunes over the years. I've been an iTunes user, iTunes Match, iTunes Radio. I've been using those music products for a long time.
So let's be clear that although we're both fans of Neil Young and Bob Dylan, we come at Apple Music very differently. Now, I have long ago given up on my music library. I still have a giant folder of CDs, but I've never taken the time to rip all of them. I've never created a library of my music. I've done part of it, and then I lost it when I upgraded computers, or maybe they're sitting on an external hard drive somewhere. I have no idea. But I've also stopped buying music from Apple a while ago. So I approached Apple Music with basically a blank slate, but not you. Now, you have a huge music library, and you're not happy with how difficult Apple made it for you to add that library to Apple Music. Tell us about your experience.
Well, it was very difficult to go through Apple Music and just click the add button to put music into your library. Not all of the songs would go in for me. I would manually go in and add the songs myself, and then Apple Music would take them out again. Sometimes the songs would show up as duplicates, and so finally I just said, okay, enough is enough. And this wasn't just a few hours of trying to work with it. I worked with it over a few weeks, and the last 10 days was kind of traumatic, really, in trying to deal with all of that. So I finally turned it off, and unfortunately Apple Music decided to take big chunks of my iTunes Match library with it. So that was a bit frustrating.
So it was just, the music was just gone?
Gone, yeah. So I looked at my iTunes Match library before Apple Music on a device that's not connected to the internet. So iTunes Match didn't update it. And then I looked at my iTunes Match library when I turned Apple Music off, and there's a 4,700 song difference in those two libraries. So
that's crazy, because a lot of people, when it first came out, they were saying like, oh, Apple's going to add DRM to all of your music, so don't upload it. And we looked into it and we said, well, they don't actually do that, and you can have your music back. But that's not what happened. It's just, you just don't even know where it is.
I have no idea where it is. It's gone somewhere, and it's just missing in action. My music library is. So 4,700 songs is quite a bit of music, and at that point I just had enough, and I made sure that I had tried everything. I talked to a lot of different people about what was going on and how I could fix it, and there was just no way to fix it, it doesn't seem. So, I don't know where those 4,700 songs are, but they're not with me anymore.
So
Do
now
you have them, Megan?
I promise I don't. Well, I have them because I still have Apple Music. So I still do have them, actually. For 2 more months, I don't have to pay anything for them. So your first look at Apple Music was positive.
Yes.
So when did it change?
It started changing about a week after I was using it. Now, I'm not sure if all of this was happening all along and I just didn't notice it. I started noticing it, as you pointed out, we're both fans of Neil Young and Bob Dylan. I am also a big fan of Aussie and metal and hard rock. So, I started noticing my Aussie library catalog was, way down from the songs that I knew that I owned because I own the CDs. AC/DC, same thing, missing complete albums. So when I started noticing that, the duplicate songs and things were going on, and then I started to really investigate what was going on.
So you talk about how sometimes what you thought Apple Music was doing made sense. Like if you had a compilation album and then you also had the original album and some of those songs were repeated, you understood that they wouldn't put the song on there twice. That made sense. But still, you felt like you should have been able to have the choice.
I should have the choice. I mean, there are times when, for instance, Bob Dylan's Blonde on Blonde is I think, a fantastic album. And 3 of those songs are also on Dylan's Greatest Hits album. I wanted those 3 songs on the Greatest Hits because sometimes, people come over, you just want to sit back and listen to some great acoustic music. And it wouldn't put them on the Greatest Hits album because I already had them on the Blonde on Blonde album. And I want them. Let me get these songs. So then I went in and manually put them in the Greatest Hits album. The next morning, it deleted them out of the Greatest Hits album and added them into the Blonde on Blonde album. So you had duplicates in that one album.
And I think,
so, I was just wanted to throw things around that morning.
I think all of us have had that experience where we're up late and we just want everything on our system to be perfect. And we know it's,
Yes.
Taking a long time, but at least it'll be done. And then to have it just disappear the next day, that is upsetting.
And, Apple Music Radio works really well. The playlists, the curated playlists work really well. And, the For You section of Apple Music, I think is great. But this whole thing of adding music and, disappearing music is upsetting.
So the big promise that they made, especially at WWDC, which was now you're going to be able to have your library and streaming together, like that was what they were promising. They completely failed you in that sense.
Yeah, completely. I don't know how else to put it. These aren't small problems. This is a very big issue for me. And, when somebody starts messing around with my library so that parts of it, large parts of it, disappear, then I've got problems with that.
So you also talk about how none of your devices seem to sync.
Right.
You had songs on your Mac that weren't on your iPhone, and none of them matched your iPad. I've also had that experience. I've thought it was just me, so thank you for pointing out it's not just me.
Well, and if you look at the screenshots in that story, they were taken at the same time, the same minute. And, those are 2 different Macs that those screenshots were taken from. And you would think that they would look similar anyway, but they just don't. And that didn't match what my iPhone or my iPad had. So, and it's the same account. I know people have emailed me and said, are you sure that it's the same account? And were you logged out or no, I tried everything, and I only have one Apple account. I've never had more than one. Everything is under that one account. So it was just a little bit frustrating.
So now the Next Web had a piece today saying that the real problem is that Apple Music is connected to the OS and they can't really make updates unless they update the whole OS. They should separate it so that they can make app updates separately. Do you think that would solve any of these problems?
Well, I mean, Apple Music on iOS, I'm not sure how it's tied in. I know that they released an iTunes update on the Mac, and that included Apple Music in the iTunes app. So I'm not sure how tied in it is to each other. So, I think what a lot of people are saying is that Apple Music should have been a different app altogether, separate from iTunes, because Apple Music is a different way to manage your music. But, the thought that Apple had to tie your library together with streaming service and playlists and radio is a good idea. I don't mind that idea of having all of that stuff together. The problem is that the execution just didn't come off.
Right. And like I said earlier, like I had no intention of moving a bunch of my music into Apple Music, and the streaming works just fine for me. I mean, do you think that that's who they were aiming at? I mean, do you think they just said, well, most people are going to be like that. They're going to mostly just want to have access to our entire streaming library, and then that will be enough for them, and then won't really care about their own library?
Okay, you're saying I'm old, and I get that. I get that. That's okay.
I'm not saying you're old. I'm asking, do you think Apple is saying you're old?
Well, somebody may be saying, and actually, yeah, I do think that there's a lot to be said for people that are starting off fresh. And want to listen to some great radio stations and some playlists and add some music here and there to their iTunes library without having much music in there already. I'm sure that experience has been great, and those people are loving it, and that's wonderful. That they should continue to use it and have fun with it. But for people like me that did have a library, and I had a lot of duplicate songs already in my library, from Ozzy Osbourne, from his years of releasing different compilations, and Dylan did the same thing, and Neil Young, for that matter. They all have, a lot of duplicate songs, and I would buy those because some of them are live and some of them are studio, and, I really like that. So for people like me, apparently, not such a good thing.
So when you say you turned off Apple Music, what do you mean? I mean, you can't delete the app. So how did you turn it off?
If you go into preferences, there are two preferences in iTunes: one to show Apple Music, and one to use the iCloud Music library. And I turned both of those options off, which theoretically should give me back my iTunes Match library from before, when Apple Music wasn't around. And it did, minus, 4,700 songs.
And do you pay for the iTunes Match service?
I do. They, in trying to hunt down what happened, that's one of the questions that I was asked if I ever quit my iTunes Match. No, I've been an iTunes Match subscriber since the first day they had it, because I thought it was a worthwhile service. So. Yeah, I've been using all of it, and it worked great. iTunes Match was a great service. I really enjoyed it.
So don't you think do they have some responsibility to have it saving your music, or they just said, well, you need to back it up and that's your responsibility, and you admit that you didn't do that with your CDs?
With everything that's been happening in the past little while, I did not back up. And that's my responsibility. I said in the story, I failed at doing that. I accept full responsibility for that. I should have backed up. And I trusted my music library to Apple because, iTunes Match has worked so well over the past while that I became complacent. So I accept blame for that. It doesn't negate what happened, but I accept responsibility for that.
We have all been there. I have certainly lost a lot of things for not backing up. Now, a lot of Mac journalists have said that maybe people could just use Apple Music without their iTunes library. Would you ever try that?
That kind of defeats the purpose, I think. It defeats the purpose of the promise that I was excited about with Apple Music. And that's, having my library, having the streaming, being able to access songs and radio stations based on the music that I like and the library that I have. So with that promise, I was excited about Apple Music. And, you know, to use it without it, that's kind of like using any other streaming service. And, you know, I've used Spotify and Beats and RDO, Pandora, iHeartRadio. I've used them all. And, you know, right now I'm using Spotify for streaming and to see some of those albums.
And you're happy with it, your music again?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm still
sad about the lost music.
Sad about the loss of music. You know, that's a lot of songs. And, you know, the thing is I know where a lot of the songs are, like my Aussie library, my AC/DC library, some Black Sabbath. You know, that stuff, I know that there are hundreds and hundreds of songs missing. But I don't know where they all are. I don't know exactly what's missing. So I could be 2 years down the road and say, oh, I'm going to listen to this song. And it's not there, and say, you know, there's another one that's missing. So
have you heard from Apple anyone at Apple about these complaints?
Well, yeah, I don't want you to think, or anybody to think, that, you know, I just tried to zing Apple and hit them in the head or anything. I've been in touch with Apple as a user as well, to say, you know, I'm having these issues, and you know, outline the problems that I was having. And it's not that they ignored me. I mean, Apple has always had great support, and they've always been a good company in trying to help out their users. But nobody could fix this problem, and it just became, for me, it just became after, you know, 7-10 days of trying to figure out what was going on, and then losing parts of my library, and then an outage where I can't even play my iTunes Match songs. I just had enough. You know, I was done at that point.
And so a lot of people have been writing about your blog post today. And did you expect it to get so much traction?
Not as much as it did. But, you know, some people are just, they're ready to hit Apple with anything that they possibly can. And, you know, they're using me as the bat this time. And other people, you know, that have written about it have experienced some of the same problems and realized that, you know, this is a deeper issue.
Well, I think it was so interesting because, you know, you have written for Apple. You know, you've been an Apple journalist for 17 years. You love these products, and you did try your best. And I think that's why people, I mean, you know, you can always find people who are going to criticize Apple, but for someone who really put their time in and still have this experience, I think that's why so many people have found it so interesting. Well, Jim, thank you so much. Jim Dalrymple is the founder and editor-in-chief of The Loop. What else are you working on right now?
Oh, I got a couple things that I'm working on. People can follow me on Twitter if they like, and you know, there's all kinds of things going on. I'm actually doing a couple of podcasts talking about this as well. But it was really great to come on and chat with you about it.
Well, thank you so much, Jim.
And I'm glad that you're enjoying it.
I am for now. I have some of the same complaints, but yeah, we'll see what happens in 2 months when I have to start paying for it, right?
Right.
Take care.
Thanks, Megan.
Coming up, zombie ads might be eating your mobile data and surprising earnings from Amazon. But first, let's talk about investing. If you've been in the working world, or in the world for that matter, you probably have money scattered all over the place. Some in personal accounts, old job retirement accounts, joint accounts, investment accounts. I've been wanting to get my finances in order for a while, but I can't ever decide who the right person to take them to. Is it a financial planner from a bank, or an independent financial planner, or just take it and shove it under my mattress and call it a day? When I heard that Wealthfront was going to be an advertiser for this show, and when they started to explain to me what they do, I got excited because it seemed like exactly what I needed. Unfortunately, I can't use Wealthfront because they're a sponsor, and that would be a conflict of interest. But it would not be a conflict of interest for you, so let me explain to you what they explained to me. Wealthfront makes it easy for anyone to access world-class long-term investment management. You can get started investing today at a minimum of $500. So whether you're investing for retirement or a different long-term goal, Wealthfront automatically rebalances your portfolio and reinvests your dividends, all commission-free. Wealthfront's software optimizes your investments for the best risk-adjusted return net of taxes and fees. Wealthfront is transparent and accessible. You can view all your accounts in one place, whether they're personal, joint, or retirement. You can also see every trade that Wealthfront makes on your behalf in your dashboard, on your desktop, or with their mobile app. Sophisticated investment strategies like tax loss harvesting and direct indexing, which optimize your after-tax returns while simultaneously lowering your tax bill. Wealthfront manages over $2.4 billion in client assets, and it's grown over 20 times in the past 2 years. Visit wealthfront.com/TN2 to sign up and get your free personalized investment portfolio. You'll see the customized allocation they recommend for your profile. And just for listeners of this show, if you sign up to invest, Wealthfront will manage your first $15,000 entirely free of charge, and that is for life. So claim your offer today at wealthfront.com/TN2. For compliance purposes, I have to tell you that Wealthfront Incorporated is an SEC-registered investment advisor. Brokerage services are offered through Wealthfront Brokerage Corporation, member FINRA and SIPC. This is not a solicitation to buy or sell securities. Investing in securities involves risk, and there is a possibility of losing money. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. Please visit wealthfront.com to read their full disclosure. Now, on to a few more stories we're following today. TechCrunch reports that Google is giving away patents to startups, and they're doing this in order to fight patent trolls. The Patent Starter program is available to the first 50 eligible startups that apply, and with it, Google aims to help innovators avoid common pitfalls like discovering patent issues when it's too late and they're already being sued by a patent troll. According to the guidelines of the program, the startup or developer will receive 2 patent families from Google's patent portfolio, and they will also be able to search Google's non-organic patent portfolio for assets that Google might be willing to sell. Now, TechCrunch says that by non-organic, Google means patents that Google has bought from someone else, not ones they've developed in-house. To participate in the program, you must meet certain requirements, including having a 2014 revenue between $500,000 and $20 million. In a post on the Microsoft on the Issues blog yesterday, Microsoft Chief Online Safety Officer Jacqueline Boucher says that the company is fighting back against revenge porn. For those of you lucky enough not to know what revenge porn is, I will explain. It's when someone shares images of another person online without that person's consent. So while the images themselves might have been taken with consent, the sharing of them was not consensual, just creepy, mean, violating, financially and personally devastating, and now no longer tolerated by Microsoft. Other big companies have already put this kind of removal into place, including Reddit, Google, Facebook, and Twitter. Microsoft now has a dedicated web form that you can use to report revenge porn and have it removed from its OneDrive cloud storage service, the Xbox Live game service, and Bing. And here's an update to a story Mike Elgin reported this morning on Tech News Today. A report published today by Forensic found a widespread form of ad fraud in mobile apps. So-called zombie apps run ads and tell the advertisers that they were viewed. Meanwhile, you never see them. PC Magazine says these kinds of ads rack up mobile data for consumers. They often can't be spotted by mobile antivirus software, and they're costing marketers up to $1 billion every year. Late this afternoon, the Wall Street Journal reported that as a result of the forensic report, Google has suspended a handful of Android apps listed in its Play Store Thursday, following the accusations that they were helping to defraud advertisers. Say what you will about the success or failure of Amazon's Prime Day, but this afternoon, Bloomberg reported that Amazon posted a surprise profit. The company announced a net income figure of $92 million for its second quarter. Sales topped analysts' estimates, and as of after-hours trading today, the company's market value is now greater than that of Walmart. And finally, in a not surprising but yet still terrifying display of technology gone wrong, this week an anonymous programmer posted an application to GitHub that showed how to use 23andMe genetics profiles to restrict access to websites based on gender, ancestry, disease susceptibility, and other traits. BuzzFeed News reports 23andMe is a personal genome service that for $99, they will mail you a kit that you can spit in to test your DNA. Then you go online to learn about relatives and build a more accurate family tree. 23andMe also offers an open API that allows programmers to determine ways to use the data. The open API doesn't allow access to people's personal 23andMe data, nor do they allow programmers to build apps as this one did that use the service to restrict access based on race, sex, and ethnicity. 23andMe shut down the particular programmer's access to the API, but not before 3 people used the application. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. We are on Facebook. You can find us at Tech News Tonight with a number 2. You can like us to get links to the show when it's posted and to the stories we talk about. And if you want to be part of the conversation, post a comment on the stories that we post, and we might read them right here on the show. You can also subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at tn2@twit.tv, and you can watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Maroney. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.